But we begin with the 12th day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. A third round of peace talks is underway today between delegations from both countries.
Despite these diplomatic efforts, the conflict rages on. It will be followed by talks in Turkey on Thursday between the Ukrainian and Russian foreign ministers. Now, this will be the highest level meeting between the two nations since the invasion began.
Russian forces are targeting major cities. Ukrainian officials say there was heavy fighting around Kyiv on Monday morning as Russian forces try to push toward the capital. Ukraine's emergency service reports at least 8 people have been killed in Kharkiv in the last 24 hours after the Russians bombarded residential areas. And Ukrainian authorities are reporting worsening living conditions in Mariupol. 2 opportunities to evacuate 200,000 Ukrainians from the city failed over the weekend. Ukraine blames Russian forces for continuing to attack during a ceasefire.
And Ukraine is calling a new Russian plan for evacuation routes, quote, unacceptable. The plan would allow a ceasefire for people to evacuate from Kyiv, Kharkiv, Sumy, and Mariupol. But the proposed routes would lead the civilians into cities in Russia and Belarus. Joining us now from Ukraine is CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay. Chris, you're in the city of Vinnytsia. The airport there was struck by Russian missiles over the weekend. 9 people killed. Can you give us an update on the conditions where you are?
Sure. Well, I mean, what we're seeing, actually, what we're hearing, I should mention, constantly off and on are the sound of air raid sirens going off. That's in the past 24 hours since those missiles slammed into the airport, 9 of them, according to Ukraine, sparking more of an exodus, as we've been seeing over the past week and a half since this conflict began. Vinnytsia was relatively safe until these missiles struck the town. In fact, on our way, as we were arriving here, we were greeted with an onslaught of vehicles heading in the opposite direction, many of them driving the wrong way in traffic into our lane because they were afraid that missiles would eventually reach the center of town where we are now. So there's definitely a lot of tension. It's calmed down considerably since then, but nevertheless, as you can imagine, we're in a war zone, so people are scared.
Well, we hope you are staying safe. Now, Chris, as of course you know, there are 2 meetings this week between Russian and Ukrainian officials. Previous such meetings have not proven particularly fruitful. Should we expect anything different to come out of these talks?
I'm no expert, but I'd have a hard time taking Russia seriously when they're not even allowing safe passage of civilians to flee from cities. Take Mariupol, for instance, where some 200,000 people were supposed to be able to exit the city safely during a planned limited ceasefire. However, those plans have failed now 2 times in a row because of Ukrainian reports that Russians simply aren't allowing civilians to flee. And by the same token, Russia is accusing Ukraine of firing the first shot as well. But for the time being, there doesn't seem to be a lot of room for compromise when both parties are living in different realities. I mean, you have Ukraine, which is a Western democracy that's fighting a defensive war, one that it did not provoke, and you have Russia, Vladimir Putin in particular, making incoherent claims about the government being ruled by Nazis and about coming into this country to save the Russian-speaking population while bombing the Russian-speaking population. It makes absolutely no sense. So I don't see a lot of room for compromise.
Chris, let's just circle back for a second. I want to talk about those 2 ceasefires that you just mentioned that failed over the weekend. So thousands could not evacuate. Conditions are worsening in a bunch of different cities. People are without food, water, safe shelter. And now the Kremlin's new evacuation plan involves leading Ukrainians into Russia or their ally Belarus. So how is this even a seriously proposed plan?
Well, it's only serious if you take into consideration that Russia is living in a completely different reality, and one that it's completely miscalculated this war effort from the very beginning. It's clear that Russia thought this conflict would be over very quickly, and yet this war is still raging on. This invasion has been very sluggish, albeit very ugly, but it's not been enough to break the spirit of the Ukrainians. They've been repelling Russian attacks by land and by air, and so it's hard to imagine things changing until Russia finally starts to realize that the reality on the ground is much different than what they expected it would be. They thought Ukraine would be a pushover. What they need to realize before they can begin the idea of a ceasefire is the fact that this ground will be virtually impossible for them to control, even if they win the war, quote unquote, because it's one thing to conquer a territory. It's something completely different to conquer a people and to conquer their spirits. And there is no indication whatsoever that the Ukrainians are willing to roll over and let Vladimir Putin take over and swallow this country and make it part of a greater Russia, as he's stated he wants to do. And with every refugee that we've spoken to fleeing the country, we've seen more and more anger from these people and less willingness to live under the idea of Vladimir Putin calling the shots.
Chris Livesay on the ground for us in Ukraine. Thank you so much.